Hello, friends. My name is Tandava, and it's a pleasure to meet those of you I don't already know. And as a matter of fact, I've been away for about 3 weeks, and it's a great pleasure to be back among all of my friends again. I've missed you all. I am coming off a 9 time zone difference just a couple days ago, so this is sort of just my jet lag insurance here, in case anything happens. It's really just a giant note that says guru equals good. So I thought, short talk today, but I think I have a little time left, so I will tell a little story. Some years ago, I was at a birthday party, and a friend of mine was turning 30, and most people there at the party were in their 30s, which I mention only because one woman had brought her 3-year-old son, so he was the one who sort of stuck out. And she was preoccupied just kind of keeping him happy and stuff because there wasn't anything he wanted to do with the other adults. And I felt sorry for her, and I liked kids, and so I thought, hey, I'll go introduce myself. And I sat down and I played with this boy for a little while, and he had coloring books and action figures and things. And we had a great time, and his mom had a chance to go get some cake and talk to the adults for a while. And after a little while, she came back, and I moved away and went off to the rest of the party. And a little while later, that afternoon, she comes up to me and she says, he keeps telling me he wants to play with the other little boy again. And I keep telling them that there are no other little boys here. And I finally figured out he means you. And a couple of my friends just about died laughing, but I was tickled pink because we had just vibed together so well that it didn't matter. I had a beard, I was 30 years old, I was taller than his mom. I was the other little boy. It was just fine. And now, I wasn't exactly another little boy. I think I prevented him from breaking one of his toys at one point. I know I stopped him from jumping in the pool with all his clothes on. Other things that another 3-year-old might not have done for him. But still, he was relating to me in this way as another little boy. And it occurred to me that this is what the gurus are doing for us. They're coming down here to be another little boy that looks like a person, like us, but has kind of a slightly different way of being a person. And I don't know if I was with this boy enough to make a lasting impact on his life, but you can imagine how if he sees another little boy doing something, he might be more willing to take that as a guideline for himself, as an option for his own life, whatever it is, coloring inside the lines, I don't know, fill in the blank, than if it's just an adult, somebody other and different, telling him what to do. Similar story, not quite the same, but different angle on it. When I was a kid, I was actually the unmusical one in my family, which may come as a surprise to a lot of people who know how much music is a thing for me these days, but that's what it was like when I was a kid. My mom told me in 5th grade, you just pick an instrument. You just have to do something, but you can choose. So I chose saxophone, joined the school band. It was awful. In this case, there were a bunch of other little boys and little girls in there playing music with me, and they all hated it because our teacher was not being a guru himself. He was old and jaded and cynical about teaching elementary school students at that point, and it was awful. And I put in my time, and after a year, Mom said, okay, that's fine. You can let it go. But then a couple of years later, we moved down to Santa Cruz, moved in with my stepfather, who was a fantastic musician and very involved in the music community down in Santa Cruz. And he would have parties at the house, like on a weekend, just all day. You'd have, 10 people in the living room playing Irish fiddle tunes, 5 people over in the kitchen doing Southern old-timey music, another half dozen in the back bedroom playing swing tunes, some group out on the porch playing something else. And it's just all this music and all these people having a blast with it. And this was not a case of other kids my age. They were mostly adults, but it brought music to me in an example where I could see it and say, oh, that's why people put in all the effort to learn to play musical instruments, to learn to sing, because it's so much fun. Look at this. And at that point, I think, I just started walking around the house saying, teach me how to play that one, because there were lots of instruments all over, and never looked back. So fast forward from there now to the first time I met Swami Kriyananda. This was 2007, so I think he was early 80s, maybe 81 or something like that. And my mother always said that it was her maternal duty to get both of her children in front of a saint at some point in our lives. And after that, it was up to God. And she did her job, and I'm forever grateful. But she got me to come see Swami Kriyananda when he was passing through Palo Alto here. And one of the things I remember saying to myself after seeing him that first time was, if I can be like that when I am 80, whatever I would have to do to get there would be worth it. Because there it is. There's an example. And I had been aware of the spiritual path vaguely for a while. And one of the things I had noticed, among all the musicians, I knew lots of great musicians. I went to Stanford. I worked at Google for 5 years. I knew a lot of smart people. I love my brain. I like smart people, but I spent a long time with them. And I came across a lot of people in a lot of areas that you could admire for something, but not a lot of people that I just wanted to be like. And so clearly being smart was not in and of itself a thing. It's fun. I still like it. But it doesn't inspire me. Even being a great musician doesn't necessarily mean you're a great person. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. Nobody really felt like a role model. After seeing Swami Kriyananda here, I started coming to more Ananda events and started meeting other people. And that's when I felt something different. That all of a sudden, now there are actually a bunch of other little boys around me that I could relate to at my level that I actually want to be like. People that maybe some of them were very smart, maybe some of them were very creative, some of them were just simply radiating love all the time. But I started feeling like, wow, there's something here that I wasn't getting anywhere else. And there are people here that I want to be like, who can also bridge that gap between me and Swami. Because he had 80 years of discipleship behind him, and it's a big jump to there. But you get the other little boys into it, and there's somebody you can relate to now. And when I came to Ananda and started realizing, how is this whole thing set up? What's going on here that makes this work? One of the things I realized was, okay, I look up to my Meditation 1 teacher, to Asha, who gives so many of the classes and sermons, and I go, okay, there's a role model. But then what is Asha doing? She's constantly telling stories of Swami Kriyananda. What is Swami doing? He's constantly talking about his own guru. Even Yogananda, who we sort of refer to as our main guru, if you will. They're all our gurus, but he's the most direct one usually. You heard the poem that Shantala read today. He gives great reverence to his own guru, Sri Yukteswar, and to his whole line of gurus. And in fact, he would always remind people that he was there not to be the end point as the guru, but to introduce them to God. So this is this chain building up all the way to God, and this is simply how it works. The first line in Yogananda's autobiography is talking about Indian culture, but when it says the search for eternal verities, for ultimate verities, that is what many of us are doing. Probably everyone in this room has gone through their time of just desperately wondering what really is true. How does creation work? What am I supposed to be doing here? And as you search for these ultimate verities, he says there's the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. And concomitant is a wonderful word, not very common, but it means sort of just naturally occurring alongside something. It's naturally associated with. It's just there. It's part of what you discover if you really keep sincerely trying to know and find the truth. And actually, for me, one of the things that this also sorted out was all the various religions in the world. Because one of the things I had noticed when kind of looking for role models is that a lot of the friends that I did most admire were spiritual in some way. I had a group of friends who were in the Stanford Christian a cappella group, and we're all very devout Christians. I was dating a girl who wanted to be a rabbi at the time. I had some friends who were Buddhist, and I was realizing that these are the people that I feel something from. But what am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to be Christian? Am I supposed to be Jewish? Am I supposed to be Buddhist? It just was kind of a mess. It was unclear. But this image of the spiritual path and this connection, like a lineage, it's a family, and we're part of this branch of the family, but there are many, many other ones. Christians don't use the word guru, but that's what Jesus is, and there will be other teachers and priests and saints and whoever you relate to in your particular church or path, but there's always some connection back up to the truth, and that's what the gurus give us. Now, once you have a guru, what do you do with him? One of the uses of guru, just in a casual way, is simply as a teacher, and that is what it means in a less spiritually technical way. And that's a great way to relate. But I'm a teacher myself. I teach middle school. And honestly, thinking about the gurus in this way helps me be very compassionate with my students when they're being frustrating, because I know whatever difference there is between me and the student, the difference between me and what Yogananda has to deal with me is much, much greater. So I can deal with this, it's fine. But last summer, I interviewed a girl who wanted to transfer in for 7th grade. And when I interview a new student, I always check to see if they have questions. And most middle schoolers will ask, how long is lunch or something like that. And some of them have better questions. But she was the only one who asked me, what do you look for in a student? And first of all, I said, that question is an excellent thing to look for, and I love it. But I told her, I honestly don't care how smart somebody is or how talented they are at academics. What I want is somebody who is willing to just sit down and work with me. And be there, have a good attitude about it, and do your best. That's it. And whatever you do in that situation, I will consider succeeding. And to her credit, she came in and she was amazing. She had struggled a lot in her previous school, but she did exactly that. She just sat down, she opened up, she said, I will try everything. And some things she was better at, some things she was worse, but she did phenomenally. I forgot how much trouble she had had at her previous school and depression and all of these things until her parents reminded me at graduation that she just had a complete transformation. And it wasn't opening to me. I'm not putting myself as a guru. I think it was the whole energy of Living Wisdom School, which is trying to attune to these masters, and she was open to it. We say in the purification ceremony, the master says, open your heart to me, and I will enter and take charge of your life. And that's what it feels like happens. Obviously, the masters teach a lot of things. Yogananda wrote a number of books. Swami Kriyananda wrote many, many, many books. Lots of things we can learn, lots of advice. In fact, Yogananda said, if you just do 1% of what I teach, that will be enough, because he gave so many options for so many different people. I would say we should probably all learn the meditation techniques. They're at the core, but there's so many other things. When I read the book, How to Achieve Glowing Health and Vitality, which is a collection of Yogananda's advice on health and diet and all of these things, there's so much in there. There's no way you can do it all. And I eventually realized that a lot of the value, sure, many of these things will make you healthier or what have you, but a lot of it is in maybe whenever I eat this, I just remember I'm doing it because I have a guru and he recommended it. Even you could do the 9-day cleanse, perhaps, and use that as a major attunement event for the guru, because that's intense, the 9-day cleanse that he describes. But you can also afterwards, just every time you see a grapefruit in the store, going, that reminds me of my guru. Because the things that he teaches at that level, sure, they're great at that level, but that level is not where things stop. The level we want to relate on is just a higher level of an intuitive connection. Shortly before Yogananda passed away, I'm not sure if it was Swami or another close disciple, asked him, after you're gone, how will we connect with you? And he said, to those who think me near, I will be near. And so that's just so much of the project, I think, of being a disciple is how much can we think him near as much as possible. In, I think it was 2018, the school did a play on Yogananda's life. And it was fun to see all the stories I knew coming to life with little kids on the stage. I loved it. But one of our members, he had a daughter who was in second grade at the time. And second graders don't always get lines, but she got a line. Her line was, "Isn't that interesting, Paramhansa Yoganandaji?" That was her whole line. And her dad said she practiced that all the time at home, over and over. She'd come down to breakfast, see her cereal, and go, "Isn't that interesting, Paramhansa Yoganandaji?" The toast would pop up, "Isn't that interesting, Paramhansa Yoganandaji?" Over and over and over. And then her dad said, after a day or two of this, he was doing it himself. He'd be walking along, stub his toe, "Isn't that interesting, Paramhansa Yoganandaji?" Something would come up at work, a problem he has to solve, or something good for that matter. He'd say, "Isn't that interesting, Paramhansa Yoganandaji?" And he said it was actually just absolutely wonderful because he was constantly thinking of the Guru as being with him, as being near, and just being able to talk to him. So this is another way of relating to the Guru, not necessarily as a teacher, but as a friend. And we actually mention this every time we pray. The invocation lists all these ways of relating to the Guru and to God: Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved. There's a comma after beloved. It's the beloved, somebody you feel idealized romantic love for, and God, ultimate, infinite God. Because God will relate to you in any way you need. And friend has always been a particular favorite of mine, just for things like that, just somebody you can talk to, somebody who's always there, always understanding you, always with you. And I like getting into creative projects and things like that, and it's somebody also that I can feel kind of working with me and doing whatever I'm doing. And a good friend will take an interest in what you're doing and will help you. I love the feeling. I write a lot of poetry, for instance, and I can tell the difference between when I'm writing a poem and when I get inspiration for a poem. And it feels like a friend who knows I like poetry comes up and says, "Hey, I just came across this poem. I thought you might like it. Here, take a look." I have to write it down still because it hasn't been composed yet. But it's a gift in that way. I had one seclusion once where I happened to, at the time, be teaching myself watercolor, and I brought my watercolor stuff along on seclusion. But I'd also given myself a challenge for that seclusion, for that week, to try to visualize Yogananda's face at the spiritual eye as much as I can. So I'm just using that picture from the autobiography cover. And I don't typically have a very visual imagination. I tend to work in other ways. So it was sort of some work to have visual energy there and try and see his face there as much as I could. But it was a good practice, and I got a pleasant surprise. At one point later in the week, I was just meditating, and I started seeing a painting. And it was in watercolor, and it wasn't too complex. It was suitable for a beginner, but it was very pleasing, and it was very nice. And I actually was able to just look at it and see the entire thing, and then get up and paint it, which I thought was so beautiful because just inspiration is fun, and because it was tailored to me. He gave me a simple thing that I could do, and yet was still charming and pleasing, and I loved it so much. And it feels like a friend who's just like, "Hey, let's do this together," and he knows where you are and what you need, and you can just enjoy everything together. So speaking of friends, we have a community here. As I said, I'm very glad to be back to it after 3 weeks away, because we met lovely people in Norway. But it's different being among a spiritual community, because that chain of disciple to guru that I traced before, Asha to Swami to master and up and up and up, it's not really just a single chain. It's a web, because we each have our own chain connecting us up to the top there, and we're all interacting with each other. So this web connects all of us. And sometimes we need other little boys who are a little more like us, who are a little closer to what we're dealing with, to help us along. And everybody here in our spiritual community, and if you're a part of another spiritual community, hopefully it feels the same way. Everybody is trying to attune to the same divine reality, and everybody truly wants what is best for you at a spiritual level. And a lot of times, other people can see something that you can't see about yourself because you're all caught up in it. And sometimes you just need the physical reality of another person to drive something home. I had a dramatic moment some years ago where I was trying to decide whether or not to do a particular thing. And it doesn't matter what it was, but I was going to pray and meditate until I really got some guidance. Should I do this or should I not? Now, the problem was I knew what the answer was that I wanted. So when you say, open your heart to me and I will enter and take charge of your life, that was not open. I was really saying was, I will pray until I get this answer. And I think I spent 3 days just kind of in agony going, why did I not feel guidance about this in my meditations and my prayers? And finally, I think Master was hammering on the door of my intuition and just couldn't get in. He finally slipped a note under the door, as it were, that said, go talk to Asha. And I went, oh, duh, I should go talk to Asha. So I went to go talk to Asha and told her what I was thinking of doing, and she said straight up, that's an awful idea. I think the whole conversation was under 2 minutes. Because she was absolutely right. As soon as she said that, I went, oh yeah, it's an awful idea. I went home and I had a good cry about it and I went on with my life. But I had too much of a wall up there to get the subtleties of intuition straight from Master or the other gurus. But Asha still has a physical body. She was able to just put it in words my ears could hear and just make it happen. But it also resonated with what was in me, because I do ultimately want to be in tune with the same thing everybody here wants to be in tune with, and with what our masters want us to be in tune with. And so as soon as she said it, I saw it in myself and said, yeah, that's right. I don't want it to be right, but it is right. So there it is. Because nobody is forcing you into something you don't want. This is a web of people who are all trying to do the same thing because they can feel it is their own highest potential. And that is where we're all going, and that is why we all need to just make use of this community, keep the connections here, be aware. And you don't have to be, big and awkward about it, like, oh, I'm praying for you, oh, I'm blessing every time you meet somebody, but just remember that your guru is in the person you're talking to. God is in the person you're talking to. Remember that God is in you. Remember that you can be a channel for whatever somebody needs, whatever they need to hear, whatever you might need to do for them, that could be you. And if you keep that openness and that awareness and that sort of mental, intuitive connection with the gurus, things will happen and we can all support each other and we can all connect that bit within each other there. I'll end with sort of an amusing story about the divine reality we have within us. If you go to Edinburgh, Scotland, you can visit the castle there. And that's where they keep the crown jewels of Scotland. There's a crown, there's a scepter, there may be something else. And those were the things that the king would always use. He would be coronated with that, and it would be on display other times. 1707, Scotland joined England to become Great Britain, and they didn't need their own crown jewels anymore, so they locked them away in the room, and apparently just lost the key. And for 100 years, there were speculations and conspiracy theories, and are the crown jewels still in there? I don't know, I think they were stolen, but we can't go check because it's been locked. In 1818, I think it was, Sir Walter Scott, he actually wasn't Sir yet, he was just Walter Scott, came along and said, what if we looked? And everyone went, ooh, good idea. And so they picked the lock or broke down the door, whatever it was, and the crown jewels were there. Well, what do you know? That's great. And he got knighted, so that worked out well for him. But this is what the guru is doing. Like, we get confused. We lock something away, and maybe we've misplaced the key, but it's there. And the guru is always going to help us go, like, can we just get in there? Maybe you can find the key. Maybe just try the door again. But eventually he's leading us to something that is divine truth within all of us. And the fun thing about a community is we're all just seeing little bits of this divine truth escape from all of us all the time and connect all of us in this beautiful web of divine aspiration that goes all the way up through all the gurus, all the way up to God. So leave it there.
Just take a moment of silence. We'll have some music now.